Hi, I'm Alec Fernandez.
And I'm Andrew Marquez.
And this is
PTV.
the Declaratory Act happened on March 17, 1766. It was an act of Parliament of Great Britain. Accompanied the repeal of the Stamp Act of 1765. Parliament repealed the Stamp Act because boycotts were hurting British trade. The Declaration stated Parliament's authority was the same as in America as in Britain. Made sure the authority was passed law. This act binded the colonies together. So, Andrew, when did the Declaratory Act take place?
Allie, it happened on March 17, 1766.
And why did it happen?
Because the colonists were so angry about the Stamp Act that they just started repelling, which hurt the British trade.
Gee willikers.
Welcome back. Now I'm going to tell you about the Townshend Act. It took place on June 15, 1767. It ended on July 2nd that same year. The Townshend Act accomplished four things. One act, it suspended the New York legislature until it complied with the Quartering Act in 1765. Another act, it imposed imports on tea, paper, paint, and glass. Third act, allowed tea to be imported to the colonies free from tax. Fourth act, restructured the custom service in the colony, placing its headquarters in Boston. The Townshend Act had a devastating effect on the relationships between the colonists and the British. Colonists continued to argue that taxation without representation. Now let's go to Stephanie for more of the Townshend Act.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm here at a local grocery store where bread is imported from a factory and is sold here. Back then, British wanted the colonists to buy British goods. The colonists were mad and decided to make their own goods. Back to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that information about the Townshend Act. So, Allie, what do you think about this event?
Well, the Townshend Act is pretty much, am I going to make my own stuff or am I going to support a group that I don't really get along with and buy their things? Honestly, at this situation, I'd rather make my own stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. The Boston Tea Party took place on December 16, 1773. It happened at the Boston Harbor. The English were being unfair and taxing tea and other products way too high. The Boston Tea Party was important because it showed that American colonies had grown tired of arbitrary taxation by the British. The colonists got tired of paying huge taxes and got together and dumped the tea that was on the deck into the bay. Now, let's go down to Camilla, who will give us historical side facts about the city.
Thank you, Allie. See this harbor? Now imagine 342 chests of tea being thrown overboard. One of the 150 men who gathered around the dock was George Hughes. He was an ordinary shoemaker who hated the British because they didn't want to pay for his shoes. That's when things got personal and political. Back to you, Allie.
Thank you, Camilla, for that interesting view of the harbor. Now, do you think that was a very, let's say, traumatic event?
It was a traumatic event because raising prices on people's favorite things to drink. Like,
yes, but then again, they threw tea off the harbor.
but it was for their own right. So I'd have to go with the colonists.
But all that tea that someone could drink, and it's preposterous how they just did it, you know.
Yeah. Well, it all had a good and bad cause. So
The Boston Massacre happened in 1773. It was accumulating tension between the colonists and the British soldiers. It wasn't until many years later that it became known as the Boston Massacre. Now let's take it down to Camilla and see what details she has to say about it.
Thank you, Allie. Despite its name, the injuries were not that serious. Yes, the British fired first, but that only led to killing 5 and wounding 6 people. Could you imagine that something so simple as a snowball fight turned out to be living up to its terrible name, such as the Boston Massacre that was led on March 5th, 1770? Back to you,
Thank
Allie.
you, Camilla, for those interesting facts. sad how the Boston Massacre turned out to be.
Right? With all those lives lost and that dog that went through the massacre.
Hey, look, a dog.
Is it the dog from the massacre?
It couldn't be.
Oh. Well, now the colonists have to go through another punishment on their hands.
Here comes those acts.
The Intolerable Act took place in July 1774. A name used to describe a series of laws passed by the British Parliament. Laws that would really punish King George III put on the colonies. The reason for King George's punishment was for the colonies that dumped the tea in the harbor in the Boston Tea Party. Quakers petitioned King George III to end the act, but he refused. Instead, the colonies had to follow those English laws. Now, Allie, do you think this was fair for the colonists?
Well, I think that they should both treat each other equally. So, no, I don't think it was fair.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either.
Okay.
Lexington and Concord took place on April 19, 1775, the first military engagements of the American Revolutionary War. This was led by John Buttrick with 450 men. This all started at the Boston Harbor. Now let's go to Stephanie with the important
Thank
facts.
you, Andrew. The battle in Lexington and Concord were brutal. The battle involved 70 Minutemen, killing 8 of them and wounding 10. Most of the Minutemen fought through the British troops. Back to you,
Thank you,
Andrew.
Stephanie. So, Allie, what do you think about that important information? That was good.
Well, maybe if we all stop fighting and just make peace, things wouldn't be as complicated now, would they?
No, they were not.
But enough about wars. Let's talk about government.
The First Continental Congress took place on September 5th, 1774. The convention of delegates from 13 North American colonies on that day responded to the Intolerable Act. Congress also called another Continental Congress because their petition was unsuccessful. The Second Continental Congress was organized for the defense of the colonies at the onset of American Revolutionary War. Delegates said that each colony should train instead of each of their own militia. Let's go to Camilla for more information.
Thank you, Andrew. We are here at the capital of Washington, D.C., where many proposals are taking place. Sort of like our First Continental Congress on September 5th, 1774, where things like the endorsement of the Suffolk Resolves and the Corrosive Act. Back to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Camilla, for that happy story. Now, Allie, what do you think of the First Continental Congress?
I thought it was a very organized treaty.
Right, when all the colonies combined together.
Yeah. This would be all for PTV News. I'm Ali Fernandez.
And I'm Andrew Marquez.
See ya!
Bye.